Chosen one, Archangel Michael says the greatest danger that is about to change everything in your life will not arrive wearing the face of danger. That is exactly why so many people fail to recognize it until it has already changed the direction of their lives. What if heaven has already been trying to warn you, but the warning came through something that looked completely ordinary? A conversation, a relationship, an opportunity, or a feeling deep inside your spirit that you couldn't explain. In today's message, Archangel Michael reveals the hidden danger that has been quietly moving closer, the signs heaven has already placed in your path, and the reason your spirit has felt different lately. Stay with me until the very end, because the final revelation may completely change the way you see the people, situations, and season you are living in right now. Chosen one, Archangel Michael says there are moments when heaven speaks so gently that only a listening heart can recognize its voice. Many people expect divine warnings to come through dramatic events, but some of the most important warnings arrive as quiet impressions, unexplained feelings, and a deep sense that something around you is changing. Perhaps that is why this message found you today. Maybe, for days or even weeks, you have felt that something is different. You cannot fully explain it. Nothing around you appears completely wrong, yet your heart keeps telling you to pay closer attention. Michael says this is not a coincidence. Your spirit often recognizes what your eyes cannot yet see. Before truth becomes visible, discernment begins to awaken. Before a new season arrives, heaven prepares your heart long before your circumstances begin to change. That is why many chosen ones become confused during this stage. They think something is wrong with them because they no longer enjoy the things that once brought excitement. Conversations that once felt comfortable now leave them feeling empty. Places that once felt familiar suddenly feel heavy. Even certain relationships begin to feel different without any clear explanation. Michael says this is one of the first signs that your spirit is growing. Growth does not always feel exciting. Sometimes growth feels like distance. Sometimes it feels like silence. Sometimes it feels like being misunderstood by people who once knew you well. But do not mistake discomfort for failure. Many times, discomfort is simply evidence that your spirit is preparing to leave behind what no longer belongs in your future. Chosen one, there is a reason heaven allows your discernment to become sharper before your next breakthrough. If your future is greater than your past, then your ability to recognize truth must also become greater. The higher your calling, the clearer your vision must become. Michael says the danger approaching many people today is not always something obvious. It rarely announces itself. It rarely says, "I have come to harm you." Instead, it often arrives looking harmless. It may come through a conversation that seems ordinary, a person who appears trustworthy, an opportunity that looks exciting, or a distraction that slowly steals your focus without you realizing what is happening. That is why discernment is one of heaven's greatest gifts. Not because it fills you with fear, but because it protects you before damage has the chance to happen. Think about the last few weeks. Have there been moments when you suddenly felt uneasy around someone for no clear reason? Did you notice your peace disappearing after certain conversations? Did your heart quietly tell you to slow down before making a decision? Michael says many people ignore those moments because logic cannot explain them. But heaven is not limited by what human logic can understand. Sometimes your spirit notices the change long before your mind can find the evidence. Chosen one, never underestimate the value of inner peace. Peace is more than a pleasant feeling. Very often, it becomes heaven's confirmation that you are walking in the right direction. Likewise, when peace repeatedly disappears around certain situations, Michael says it is wise to pause instead of rushing ahead. Not every open door was opened for you. Not every invitation belongs to your future. Not every relationship deserves unlimited access to your heart. This does not mean living in fear. It means learning to walk with wisdom. Wisdom sees beyond appearances. Wisdom asks deeper questions. Wisdom is willing to wait until clarity arrives. Michael says one of the greatest traps is believing that everything attractive must also be beneficial. Many things look beautiful on the outside while quietly draining your strength on the inside. That is why your spirit has become more sensitive lately. What once felt normal no longer feels peaceful. What once entertained you now leaves your soul empty. This change is not accidental. It is preparation. Heaven is teaching you to recognize what truly nourishes your spirit and what slowly weakens it. Chosen one, there are seasons when God increases your awareness before He increases your blessings. He does this because blessings without discernment often become burdens. If you cannot recognize what steals your peace, you may also struggle to protect what heaven is about to place in your hands. Michael says, pay attention to patterns instead of isolated moments. Anyone can have a difficult day. Anyone can make a mistake. But repeated confusion, repeated emotional heaviness, repeated loss of peace, these patterns deserve your attention. Sometimes the pattern itself is the warning. Heaven often repeats a lesson until it is understood. Not to punish you, but to protect you. Perhaps you have been wondering why certain people suddenly became distant, why plans unexpectedly changed, why doors you expected to open remained closed. Michael says, do not be too quick to call every delay a disappointment. Some delays are acts of protection. Some closed doors are expressions of mercy. Some endings are heaven removing what your future cannot carry. You may not understand every reason today, but one day you will look back and realize that what felt like rejection was actually redirection. That what felt like loss became unexpected protection. And what felt like silence was heaven quietly arranging something far greater than you could see. Chosen one, Michael says there is a difference between being isolated and being prepared. Many people fear seasons of silence because they believe they have been forgotten. But heaven often uses quiet seasons to strengthen what noise could never build. In silence, your discernment becomes clearer. In stillness, your heart learns to recognize truth. In solitude, distractions lose their power. That is why some of your recent seasons may have felt lonely. Not because heaven abandoned you, but because heaven was removing unnecessary noise so you could hear His direction more clearly. And what Michael is about to reveal next explains why certain people unexpectedly changed around you, why your spirit has become more sensitive than ever before, and how to recognize the hidden danger before it reaches your future. Chosen one, Archangel Michael says there is something you must understand before you move into the next season of your life. Not every person who enters your life is sent to stay. Some people are sent to teach you, some are sent to encourage you, some are sent to challenge you, and some are only allowed to walk beside you for a short season before heaven gently leads your paths in different directions. Many chosen ones struggle with this truth because they believe that if a relationship changes, someone must have failed. But Michael says that is not always the case. Sometimes growth itself creates separation. As your spirit becomes stronger, your values begin to change. Your priorities begin to change. Even the things that bring you peace begin to change. And when that happens, the people around you naturally respond to the new version of you. Some will celebrate your growth. Some will quietly drift away. Others may become uncomfortable because your transformation reminds them of changes they have been avoiding in their own lives. Do not take every change personally. Not every distance is rejection. Sometimes distance is simply evidence that two paths are no longer meant to travel together. Michael says many chosen ones have been asking heaven the same question. Why do certain people suddenly feel different? The answer is not always hidden in their behavior. Sometimes the answer is hidden in your own spiritual growth. When your discernment increases, you begin noticing things you once ignored. Words carry different weight. Attitudes become easier to recognize. Hidden motives become more visible. Conversations that once seemed harmless now leave your spirit feeling unsettled. This is not because you have become overly sensitive. It is because your awareness has matured. Chosen one, there is a difference between judging people and discerning what influences your spirit. Michael is not calling you to become suspicious of everyone around you. He is calling you to become wise about what you allow to shape your heart. Every environment leaves an imprint. Every conversation influences your thoughts. Every voice you listen to has the power either to strengthen your peace or slowly weaken it. That is why guarding your inner life has become so important during this season. Michael says some of the greatest battles are never fought with visible weapons. They begin quietly, through discouragement, through constant negativity. through endless distractions, through voices that slowly convince you to doubt the direction heaven has been showing you. The danger is not always immediate. It grows gradually. One compromise becomes another. One distraction becomes a habit. One moment of doubt becomes a season of confusion. That is why wisdom notices small changes before they become larger problems. Chosen one, think back to moments in your life when you ignored that quiet inner warning. Perhaps something looked perfect on the outside. Everything appeared to make sense. Yet deep inside, your spirit felt uneasy. Later, you discovered there was a reason for that feeling. Michael says those experiences were preparing you for today. Heaven was teaching you to trust the discernment that has been growing inside you. Because your spirit often recognizes truth before your circumstances reveal it. Do not dismiss that gift. Treat it with gratitude. Strengthen it through stillness. Protect it from unnecessary noise. Michael says another hidden danger is allowing fear to speak louder than faith. Fear always demands immediate answers. Faith is willing to wait for clear direction. Fear rushes ahead because it cannot tolerate uncertainty. Faith remains steady because it trusts that God is already working beyond what human eyes can see. Many chosen ones lose their peace simply because they begin listening to fear instead of wisdom. Every day, fear asks, "What if everything goes wrong?" But faith quietly asks, "What if God is already making a way?" The voice you choose to follow will shape the direction you walk. Chosen one, there are moments when heaven closes a door that looked promising. At first, disappointment fills your heart. Questions begin to rise. You wonder if you made a mistake. You wonder if God has forgotten your prayers. But Michael says do not confuse a closed door with a forgotten promise. Sometimes the greatest protection comes through unanswered expectations. Not every opportunity belongs to your purpose. Not every path leads to peace. God sees what you cannot. He knows what lies beyond every decision long before you arrive there. That is why trusting His timing is one of the greatest acts of faith. Michael says your future is too valuable to be built on foundations that cannot support it. So before heaven adds something new, He often removes what has become unstable. That process may feel uncomfortable, but it is never without purpose. Every removal creates space. Every ending prepares the ground for a new beginning. Every season of waiting develops the strength needed for the blessing that follows. Chosen one, if you have recently felt separated from certain people, if you have watched familiar routines suddenly change, if you have sensed that your spirit no longer feels at home where it once did, do not be afraid. You are not being abandoned. You are being prepared. Heaven is leading you toward greater clarity. And clarity always comes before direction. Michael says there is one final truth you must remember before moving forward. The danger loses its power the moment you recognize it. Confusion loses its power when truth is revealed. Fear loses its power when faith rises. Darkness loses its power when light enters. That is why this message reached you today. Not to fill your heart with fear, but to strengthen your wisdom. Because the person who walks with discernment is not controlled by panic. They are guided by peace. And in the next part, Archangel Michael reveals why many chosen ones suddenly feel spiritually exhausted, how hidden distractions quietly steal their strength, and the simple shift that restores clarity before their greatest breakthrough begins. Chosen one, Archangel Michael says there is a battle that many people never recognize because it does not begin around them. It begins within them. It is quiet. It is patient. And it slowly attempts to steal the very thing heaven has been building inside your heart. Your peace. Many people believe that spiritual battles always arrive through obvious hardship. They expect dramatic moments, visible conflict, or sudden crises. But Michael says some of the greatest battles begin in complete silence. They begin with a restless mind, a discouraged heart, a loss of focus, a growing sense of emotional heaviness that seems impossible to explain. Have you noticed that lately? Perhaps you wake up feeling tired even after a full night's rest. Perhaps your thoughts have become louder than your confidence. Perhaps simple decisions suddenly feel more difficult than they used to. Michael says do not ignore these moments. Instead of asking, "What is wrong with me?" Ask yourself, what has been quietly stealing my peace? Because peace rarely disappears without a reason. Something usually comes before it. Sometimes it is constant worry. Sometimes it is information overload. Sometimes it is carrying responsibilities that were never yours to carry. And sometimes it is spending too much time listening to voices that create fear instead of hope. Chosen one, your heart was never designed to carry endless pressure without returning to God's presence. Even the strongest person grows weary without moments of stillness. That is why Michael says many chosen ones have unknowingly allowed busyness to replace quiet time. Their schedules became full. Their minds became crowded. Their attention became divided. Little by little, clarity became harder to hear. Not because heaven stopped speaking, but because the noise around them became louder. There is a reason Scripture often connects wisdom with stillness. Stillness clears the heart. Stillness strengthens discernment. Stillness allows truth to arise above confusion. That is why the enemy loves constant distraction, because a distracted mind struggles to recognize divine direction. Chosen one, pay close attention to what consistently captures your attention. Whatever controls your attention eventually begins shaping your thoughts. And whatever shapes your thoughts gradually influences your decisions. Michael says every day your attention is being invited in different directions. Some invitations lead toward peace. Others slowly pull you away from it, not through obvious temptation, but through endless distraction. Hours disappear, focus weakens, purpose becomes blurry. Without realizing it, many people slowly drift away from the life they were trying to build. Not because they lacked ability, but because they lost intentionality. Michael says this is why protecting your attention has become one of the greatest acts of wisdom. You cannot pour your energy into everything. You cannot carry everyone's expectations. You cannot solve every problem placed before you. Some burdens belong to God alone. Chosen one, another hidden danger is living in yesterday while praying for tomorrow. Some people continue replaying old disappointments long after heaven has already invited them to move forward. They revisit old conversations, old mistakes, old betrayals, old failures, again and again. Each memory slowly drains strength from the present moment. Michael says your past contains lessons. It was never meant to become your permanent home. You learned from those seasons. You grew through those seasons. But you were never created to remain trapped inside them. Healing begins the moment you stop allowing yesterday to define tomorrow. That does not mean pretending pain never happened. It means refusing to let pain become your identity. Chosen one, there are blessings that cannot grow in a heart constantly occupied by regret. Forgiveness creates room. Hope creates room. Trust creates room. When your hands remain tightly closed around what hurt you, they cannot fully receive what heaven is preparing to place within them. Michael says release is not weakness. Release is an act of faith. It declares, I trust God more than I trust my fear. That trust changes everything. Because fear focuses on what could be lost. Faith focuses on what God can restore. Chosen one, perhaps you have wondered why some prayers seem delayed. Why answers have taken longer than expected. Why doors have remained closed. Michael says waiting is never wasted when God is the one leading the journey. Seeds do not become trees overnight. Foundations are built before buildings rise. Character develops before greater responsibility is given. Sometimes heaven is preparing you while also preparing what has been prepared for you. If both are not ready at the same time, the blessing arrives too early. God's timing is never random. His preparation always carries purpose. Michael says trust the process you cannot yet fully understand. Every unseen detail matters. Every quiet season has value. Every delay carries a lesson that success alone could never teach. Chosen one, do not mistake slow progress for the absence of progress. Roots grow in silence before fruit appears. Many of heaven's greatest works happen where human eyes cannot see. Just because nothing appears to be changing on the surface does not mean nothing is happening beneath it. Even now, your character is growing. Your wisdom is deepening. Your discernment is becoming stronger. Your faith is learning to stand without constant reassurance. That is preparation. And preparation always comes before promotion. Michael says the people who endure faithfully through hidden seasons are often the ones trusted with visible blessings later. So do not despise quiet seasons. Do not fear waiting seasons. Do not compare your journey with someone else's timeline. God writes every story differently. Comparison steals gratitude. Gratitude restores perspective. Perspective restores peace. Chosen one final warning before we continue. Protect your heart from constant discouragement. Every day the world offers countless reasons to become fearful, bitter, impatient, or hopeless. But Michael says your spirit becomes stronger when it feeds on truth rather than fear. Choose voices that build faith. Choose conversations that encourage wisdom. Choose environments that strengthen your relationship with God. The atmosphere you repeatedly remain in eventually becomes the atmosphere you carry within you. That is why your inner world deserves protection. Because everything you build in the future will first be built inside your heart. And in the next part, Archangel Michael reveals why certain endings were never punishments but acts of divine protection. Why some doors had to close before your destiny could open. And how heaven has been guiding your path even during seasons when it felt completely silent. Chosen one, Archangel Michael says there is one truth that many people only understand after looking back on their journey. Not every ending is a loss. Not every closed door is rejection. And not every delay is a sign that heaven has forgotten you. Sometimes the very things that caused you the greatest confusion were the same things protecting your future. At the time, you could not see it. You questioned why certain relationships suddenly changed. You wondered why opportunities disappeared just when they seemed within reach. You asked why prayers appeared to go unanswered. But Michael says heaven always sees the complete picture while you only see one chapter at a time. That is why faith is so important. Faith allows you to keep walking even when your understanding has not yet caught up with God's plan. Chosen one, there were moments when you believed everything was falling apart. Yet behind the scenes, heaven was carefully arranging everything to fall into its proper place. Some people had to leave because they could not walk into the future God was preparing for you. Some opportunities disappeared because they would have distracted you from your true purpose. Some delays happened because your character needed one more season of preparation before receiving greater responsibility. Michael says what looked like disappointment often became protection in disguise. Imagine if every door you wanted had opened. Imagine if every relationship had remained. Imagine if every plan had unfolded exactly the way you expected. Would you truly have become the person you are today? Or would you still be living inside a version of life that God was lovingly trying to lead you beyond? Sometimes unanswered prayers become answered prayers in a different form. Sometimes God's not yet becomes far greater than the yes you originally wanted. Chosen one, there is another lesson heaven wants you to remember. Never measure God's presence by your emotions alone. There will be days when you feel inspired. There will also be days when everything feels quiet. Neither season changes the truth. God remains faithful. Michael says many chosen ones mistakenly believe silence means abandonment. But silence often becomes the place where faith grows strongest. A seed grows beneath the ground long before anyone sees its first leaf. Likewise, many of God's greatest works happen long before visible results appear. That is why patience is more than waiting. Patience is trusting that unseen progress is still progress. Even now, while you are listening to these words, things may already be moving in ways your natural eyes cannot recognize. Conversations you know nothing about. Doors beginning to unlock. Opportunities quietly taking shape. People being positioned at exactly the right moment. Heaven never stops working simply because you cannot yet see the outcome. Chosen one, Michael says there is also a powerful difference between fear and wisdom. Fear convinces you to stop moving. Wisdom teaches you how to move carefully. Fear imagines the worst. Wisdom listens for God's direction. Fear keeps looking backward. Wisdom prepares for what lies ahead. That is why discernment is one of heaven's greatest gifts. Discernment does not create panic. It creates clarity. It helps you recognize what strengthens your spirit and what slowly weakens it. It teaches you which voices deserve your attention and which ones should be left behind. Michael says every season of your life is teaching you something valuable. Even painful seasons carry hidden lessons. Disappointment teaches endurance. Waiting teaches trust. Loss teaches dependence on God rather than temporary things. Loneliness teaches you that your identity is not determined by the number of people around you. Every season leaves behind wisdom for the next one. Nothing is wasted when it is placed in God's hands. Chosen one, perhaps today you still carry questions that remain unanswered. Perhaps there are situations that continue to confuse you. Michael says, do not allow temporary uncertainty to destroy your permanent hope. You were never called to understand everything immediately. You were called to remain faithful one step at a time. The next step is often enough. You do not need to see the entire road before taking the first step forward. God has always guided his people one day at a time. He still does. Michael says your greatest strength in this season is not having every answer. Your greatest strength is continuing to trust the one who already knows every answer. When you choose faith over fear, peace begins to return. When peace returns, clarity follows. When clarity grows, wise decisions become easier. And when wise decisions become consistent, your future begins changing one choice at a time. Chosen one, remember this whenever uncertainty appears. Do not allow fear to become your counselor. Do not allow discouragement to become your identity. Do not allow temporary setbacks to convince you that your purpose has disappeared. Your calling has not changed. Your value has not decreased. Your future has not been canceled. Michael says heaven is still leading you, even through the seasons that make the least sense. One day you will look back and realize that every delay taught you patience. Every closed door protected you from something you could not see. Every difficult season strengthened your character. Every unexpected ending made room for a greater beginning. That day, you will understand why heaven never stopped guiding your steps. Until then, walk with wisdom, protect your peace, guard your heart, stay close to God, and trust that the same God who brought you this far will faithfully lead you through every season still ahead. May God's wisdom fill your heart, His peace guard your mind, and His light guide every step you take. If this message encouraged you today, let us know in the comments by writing, "I choose God's peace over fear." If this message spoke to your heart, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who may need this encouragement today. May God bless you, and may the peace of Christ remain with you always.